number, followed by pound. If you do not know your attendee number, press pound to continue.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. We are just waiting for one more staff member and we will get started shortly. Okay, I think we have everyone here that we need, so I will get started. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Michelle Shantz. I'm Senior Communications Officer with the City of Hamilton, and I will be moderating this media briefing. Before we begin, I will ask all attendees to please keep your microphones on mute until called upon to avoid any background noise. Joining us at today's briefing, we have Carlyle Khan, General Manager for Public Works, as well as Nick Winters, Director of Hamilton Water. Following this technical briefing, Mayor Horwath will be joining us at 4:30 p.m. to take any additional questions. And at the conclusion of today's briefings, all members of the media can expect a media release that includes all the information that was provided. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Carlyle and Nick to provide the update.
Good afternoon. Carlyle Khan, General Manager of Public Works. With me today is Nick Winters, as Michelle has indicated. On the weekend, staff were out. We were taking a proactive approach of what we call a risk-based assessment to an event that happened last year. We were looking at some of our combined sewers, some of our older sections of pipe, and once again, we've discovered that there was a misconnection, and Nick and his team, they confirmed that as 1 p.m. today, and currently we are in the process of mitigating that, ceasing the flow of the combined sewer to the storm sewer and out into the harbor. And I think with that, I'll hand it over to Nick. Nick, you have the details, so you can have the mic.
Absolutely. Just to verify, Michelle, you can hear me okay?
Yes, we can, Nick. Thank you.
Excellent. All right. So good afternoon, everyone. As Carlyle introduced there, Nick Winters, Director of the Hamilton Water Division here with the City of Hamilton. As a result of the Burlington Street sewage spill that we discovered late last year, Hamilton Water have been piloting a risk-based inspection program that focuses on other areas of the combined sewer system where similar sewer cross connections could be present. This past weekend, Hamilton Water staff were conducting some of these investigations in the area of Rutherford Avenue and Myrtle Avenue. That's in Ward 3 near the Wentworth Street stairs, if you're familiar with that location. During this investigation, staff discovered what they thought was a private sanitary sewer lateral that was connected to a storm sewer. We would term that a sewer lateral cross connection, which is a common problem across the city and our sewer system. But after further investigation, which was completed this morning, it's been determined that there's actually a city-owned combined sewer pipe in this area that is directly connected to a storm sewer pipe. Based on our preliminary investigation and consultation of city records, it looks like a 100-year-old combined sewer pipe was connected into a newly constructed storm sewer during a city-led construction project in 1996. And since that time, as many as 11 residential properties have been discharging sanitary wastewater directly to the storm sewer and onward to Hamilton Harbor. We're not aware of the exact volume of the discharge at this point, but we will publicly report that number as soon as we've completed that assessment. Our immediate priority upon discovering the leak was mitigating the spill and protecting the environment. So upon discovering that leak, we did report the spill to the Ministry of the Environment, Conservation and Parks Spills Action Center. That was around 1:45 p.m. this afternoon to our own City of Hamilton spills line. And we have taken short-term action to stop the flow from the leak into the storm sewer into the harbor. And that means we've got a vacuum truck stationed on site. It is pumping the discharged sewage from a manhole and capturing it in the truck. We'll also be collecting samples as part of our spills response. That is the information that we have available so far this afternoon. And with that, we'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you both. We will now go to members of the media for their questions. So as you can see, we have approximately 10 media outlets joining us today. We'll begin with one question, one follow-up each, and if time permits, we will do a second round of questions. First up, we have Lisa Pileski from CHML News. Lisa, if you have a question, you can go ahead. Are you there, Lisa?
Yes, sorry, I'm sharing a mic with our anchor right now, so I had to wait for her to stop. Just wondering if you can comment on the when you might expect to find sort of more details about how much has been spilling out into over the you said since 1996, and I'm just wondering when we might be able to have more details on that, how long you might think that will take.
Sure. Thank you for the question, Lisa. I would anticipate it would probably be early next week, and I just based that on the experience with the Burlington Street sewage spill. It did take us a little bit to pull all the water meter data for the impacted properties, the contributing properties, do the math, and just make sure that we eliminated any potential sources of error. So I would think it would be early next week.
And Lisa, if you have a follow-up question, you can go ahead.
I'm just going to leave that for now. I'm going to let the other colleagues take over. Sorry, it's a little difficult to juggle right now, so thanks.
Thank you, Lisa. Next up, we have Craig Campbell from the Dundas Star. I don't know if he's here today, but if you are, please go ahead with your question. I'm not seeing Craig, so hopefully we can come back to him. So we'll move on to Matt Ingram from CHCH. Matt, you can go ahead with your question.
Thanks very much. Nick, you said that this is part of a larger probe of other places where we may discover that there's a spill or a problem. Given that we've now found two in such a short period of time, does the city think that this is a widespread problem that we're going to be encountering all across Hamilton?
Thanks very much for the question, Matt. It would be difficult for me to say that's not a possibility. We need to be prepared for that. I think the fact that, in that short period of time that we've discovered another issue here, I think it speaks to the success of what we think is the proper inspection program moving forward. But I would expect that as we roll this out across our entire combined sewer system, which is going to take time and resources that we don't fully know the scope of that time or those resources yet, that we are likely to discover other similar discharges, unfortunately.
And just as a follow-up, you had said during the last spill, I believe it was, gave an approximate timeline, I think, as to how long it would take to check everything in the city of Hamilton. Can you give us an update on that timeline? Like, are we expecting this work to continue for several years, or is this something that'll be done within 2023?
Certainly, a great question. In response to the previous spill, the update that I'd given was that if we were going to be required by the ministry to video inspect every meter of sanitary or combined sewer pipe in the city of Hamilton, it would probably take at least 5 years, and we'd need at least 10 additional staff in order to deliver a program like that. The program that we've moved forward with on a pilot basis is not a video camera inspection of every meter of pipe. Instead, what we've done is we've looked at one sewer shed, one area of the combined sewer, and we've identified areas where we have combined sewers in close proximity to larger storm sewers, where it may make sense historically for someone to have thought that, hey, if we have a flooding issue in this area, if we connected these two pipes, that might alleviate the flooding issue. So right now we've done 151 of these inspections since early December of last year when we started to implement this pilot program. And the purpose of the pilot really is to determine what is the resource levels required to deliver that program through the entire combined sewer system. And that's something that we're going to have to do some analysis on here and bring some information forward to City Council with some recommendations.
Thanks, Nick. Our next media partner is Dawn Mitchell from CHML. Dawn, if you have a question, you can go ahead. Dawn, are you there? We'll come back to you, Dawn, not a problem. From Durham Radio News, we have Holly. Holly, if you have a question, you can go ahead. Okay, we'll come back to Holly as well. Bobby from CBC Hamilton. If you have a question, you can go now, Bobby.
Thank you very much. And thank you for telling us about this as soon as you could, I guess. My first question, to be clear, this is the same as the last leak where water is being discharged from these homes, right? It's not impacting anyone's drinking water or anything like that?
Thank you for the question, Bobby. That is correct. What we have happening here is sanitary wastewater from as many as 11 properties is going into a storm sewer pipe and out to the harbor. So there is certainly an environmental impact related to that, but there's no impact to City of Hamilton drinking water whatsoever.
Thank you. Another question I have here really it just comes down to, so this water is going directly into the harbor. It wasn't going off anywhere else in any other direction, was it?
No. So again, based on the assessment that we've done just this afternoon, the wastewater that's been discharged to the storm sewer in this area goes to the same storm sewer on Wentworth Street that goes out to our Wentworth Street CSO outfall. That's the information that we have.
Thanks, Nick. Our next question goes to CBC Toronto. If Tyson is here, you can go ahead and ask your questions now. Okay, going to move on as well. I know Matthew Van Dongen is here from the Hamilton Spectator. So Matthew, if you have a question, you can go ahead now.
Thanks. I guess my first question would be, is it just a coincidence that both of these spills relate to work that were done in 1996? Is there something about the scope of work or the type of work or who was doing the work in 1996 that you think is relevant here?
Thanks very much for the question, Matthew. I'm hopeful that it's a coincidence. Again, this is something that we just verified today, so we haven't had a lot of time in the background here to connect the dots. Our first priority was one, containing the spill and eliminating the environmental impact, but then two, making sure that the community is aware of what we found. We will look into that in the background and see if there's any common factors. But I am certainly hopeful that it's just coincidental that we had these two issues develop in the same year.
Okay, and I guess my follow would be, so I know you've embarked on this proactive program that I would love for you to talk more about at some point during this presentation, but is it completely unrelated to whatever the province has said it's going to ask you to audit, or have you factored in provincial requests in how you're going about this work, or could the province come back and tell you to do it differently?
So that's a great question too, Matthew. Thank you very much. We've had preliminary discussions with the province, and we've made recommendations for what we think an appropriate audit for the city's sewer system looks like. And that's a combination. What we suggested is a combination of a maintenance access chamber inspection program, like what we've been delivering as a pilot, enhancing our surface water quality program with additional in-sewer sampling for the storm sewer system to see if we identify any flags from a water quality perspective that we can follow up on. And then also certainly looking at quantifying the environmental impact of the Burlington Street spill and whether or not there's any remediation that would be recommended by a qualified consultant in Hamilton Harbor. Those are all things that we've had discussions with the local ministry office about, and we do understand that there is going to be an order issued from the ministry to the City of Hamilton. We expect to attend a meeting with the ministry in the near future to review a draft version of that order. We don't know exactly what the context is going to be. We're hopeful that the ministry has considered the recommendations that we put forth. Based on our expertise working in these systems, we think it makes sense. We think it's going to get us to where we all want to be faster than that, full sewer video camera inspection that I spoke to earlier.
Thank you, Nick. The next question is actually coming from Nathan Sager from InSaga. He's having a bit of background noise, so I'm going to read his question on his behalf. In layperson terms, what is the difference in the thoroughness of a full inspection and the way the city is doing the work?
Certainly. Thank you very much for the question. Full video camera inspections of sewers, they're meant for a different purpose. They're not meant to necessarily detect cross-connected sewers. What they're looking for is structural stability, condition, and they're used to program renewal and rehabilitation interventions. So capital projects is, does this sewer pipe need to be replaced? Does it need to be lined in order to ensure its structural integrity? So it's looking for a lot more things. It's looking for sewer cracks. It's looking for evidence of groundwater infiltration. It's looking for whether the connections to the sewer all look like they're in good shape. A video inspection camera, or a video camera inspection, program like that, without the right eyes reviewing every minute, second of videotape, is not likely to determine whether there is a cross-connected sewer issue or not. The program that we've proposed, and again, it's based on extensive knowledge of operation and maintenance of a old combined sewer system. We know that the connections between the combined sewer system and the storm sewer system in cities like Hamilton, they're made within maintenance access chambers, and they're made that way for a reason, so that they can be inspected, so that if there is a structural failure, that they can be repaired easily. So from a city staff perspective, we don't know that there's value in inspecting every meter of sewer pipe with a video camera. Where we think the value is expecting all of the maintenance chambers that are in a close proximity to a storm sewer to see if there's evidence of a connection that we don't have on record already, that we don't already inspect. I hope that answers the question.
That's great. Thanks, Nick. Before we go to the second round of questions, I will ask any media partners who I haven't called upon to please raise their hand if I haven't asked you to speak or ask any questions. Quick look. Okay, good to see. We'll quickly do another round of questions for Nick and Carlyle, and we'll go back to Lisa Pileski. If you have any questions, you can go ahead.
Thank you. No, I'm good. Everyone else asked the questions I had, so thanks very much.
Thank you, Lisa. I'm going to do another call on Craig Campbell if he's attending the meeting. I don't see him logged in, but I wanted to give the benefit of the doubt. Okay. Matt Ingram, if you have any additional questions, you can please ask them now.
Thanks, Michelle. I got one more. What was it about the area of Myrtle and Rutherford that made the city do a preemptive inspection in that area? Like, what is it about the sewers in that area that made you guys think maybe this is somewhere we need to check out?
Thanks for the question, Matt. So this area discharges to that same combined sewer overflow where the Burlington Street spill discharged to the harbor. That's the area that we've started with as our pilot program. And in this area, there is combined sewers that are in close proximity to some larger storm sewers, collecting flow off the mountain and taking it off to Hamilton Harbor. So that's a big element to the risk factors that we're using to determine where we should prioritize inspections.
Matt, if you have an additional question, you can go ahead now.
No, thanks very much. That's good for me. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Matt. All right, we'll go to Bobby Herstova from CBC. If you have another question, Bobby, please go ahead.
Yes, I do. And it's one question, one follow-up. Is that right? Thank you.
Yes, it is.
My first question was this, does the city have any indication that this area had been flagged before for some sort of concerns? Like, were people in the neighborhood talking about having, really smelly homes or smelling sewage? Because we've heard that at the last leak, where people said that they complained about smells and everything went unaddressed.
Thanks very much for the comment, or excuse me, for the question, Bobby. So the short answer is no. No, we haven't had an opportunity to review all the records related to the sewer system in this area to see if there's evidence of things like odor complaints. I can tell you that it was our staff being on site on the weekend. They noticed an odor issue, which led them to investigate this sewer. and identified, like I mentioned at first, they thought it was just one private property that was connected to a storm sewer before they determined that no, this is actually a combined sewer that's connected into the storm sewer.
Thank you. And my second question, there are lots of people who work right by the harbor, and while they might not be swimming in that water, they're breathing the air right near the water. Has the city have any idea what sort of impact this could have on people who have spent their whole lives working or living near the harbor?
Thanks very much for the question. I think that's probably something that's better left to our experts in public health. I can tell you that, unfortunately, given the age and construction of the City of Hamilton sewer system, these locations, they do receive sewage discharges on a very regular basis. They're only supposed to happen when there's wet weather, and in order to prevent flooding in people's basements and other areas of the city. But this combined sewer outfall at Wentworth Street in particular is quite active. Unfortunately, it doesn't take a very large rainstorm for some sanitary sewage, combined sewage, to make its way out of that outfall. So it is a recurring thing.
Thank you, Nick. And our last questions can go to Matthew Van Dongen from the Hamilton Spectator. Matt, you can go ahead.
Thank you. You mentioned, of course, that you reported this as a spill to the Ministry of the Environment. Do you know, are they treating each of these individually reported spills as individual incidents, or is this all part and parcel of an incident that you are proactively investigating going forward?
Thanks for the question, Matt. So based on our experience with the ministry, would be our expectation that they would treat each of these incidents as a unique spill and follow up on them following that nature. But that's a question that you might have to ask them directly.
Okay. And you mentioned, of course, this proactive program, and I think you gave the number of inspections you've done so far under it, 154 or something like that. If you were to continue proactively with this particular program, and the province signed off on it as your go forward option, how many like locations, or how long would that take you?
Thanks for the question, Matt. We don't know that presently. We did look at this one sewer shed, so all the sewers that lead to just the Wentworth combined sewer overflow outfall as our pilot. I don't remember the exact number, but there are about 600 priority locations that we need to inspect in that sewer shed alone. And so what we're hoping to establish with this pilot is, on average, how long is it taking us to conduct those inspections, how many staff are required, and we'll use that to develop a greater program. And that's something that I'm sure that the ministry will be looking for from us as well. Is an indication of how long it would take to develop that greater program and determine those same timelines that you're asking about.
Okay,
Great.
thank you.
Thank you, Nick and Carlyle. So that comes to the end of the technical briefing. Mayor Horwath will be joining us momentarily for any media partners who wish to ask her any questions. But for the time being, what we'll do is we'll put this on hold for one moment. Please don't hang up if you'd like to speak with the mayor, and then we'll come back around 4:25 to speak with Mayor Horwath. So thank you all for attending, and we will be back.